So, welcome to Montague Group's Conversations That Connect. Today, we're talking about what's been keeping CEOs up at night. What's the big topic of conversation at the moment? Suki and Taylor.
What CIOs and CEOs, what are they struggling with? What are the questions that they're asking at the moment in terms of what are the sticking points? What's keeping them up at night? And obviously, there's a lot of things. But if we look at it from a people perspective, from where we come in, I think we landed this morning on the COVID related question is the flexibility, the working environment, the flexibility around that, and how we don't have the answer. We don't know what the answer is, but there's definitely a lot more questions being asked around that. It's really interesting. This weekend I spent time with my cousin, and his wife is the financial manager for a sort of established company, and he's the financial manager for a startup, and they're both in the tech space, and they both work 100% remote. And that has made them and allowed them to make certain massive life decisions based on the fact that they're working remotely. And I asked them, like, how does that work for you in terms of being able to collaborate with your team members? And they've put structures in place. My cousin's wife, they have offices around Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, I think, and Tasmania as well, but they're closing the offices because it's an expense that they're now going, well, our staff really don't want that. They don't want to work in the office 5 days a week, 3 days a week. So they're closing some of the offices, not all the offices, some of them. And then they're still allowing people to go into the office if they want to, and if there's a need to collaborate. But it's not a have to anymore. So, and then we had conversations about stupid things like, and Taylor, you and I have this, is like, okay, so there's an Echo Day.
Yeah.
Which holiday do you take? Because Echo Day is in Queensland, only in Queensland, and it's an extra holiday that the other states don't necessarily have. Melbourne is the same. Melbourne has
AFL Grand Final Day. Melbourne
Cup Day.
Public holiday anyway.
Correct. He said Melbourne Cup Day. I'm like, well, I think Queensland just adapted that holiday in any case. But little questions around that, and that impacts productivity. If people are taking an extra holiday, that's an impact on the bottom line. Do you do it? Which one do you choose? How do you collaborate? How do you make sure it's fair across the organization for everybody? So it's not and we've spoken about this, it's not a black and white question or answer. But I think it's pretty topical at the moment.
100%. But like noticing it more and more frequently now, that those, I guess, like stipulations are coming into play that they have to go back to the office as well. But then also you've heard the other side, like you said, there people are leaning towards a more flexible environment, so they don't have the overheads of the offices and everything like that. So there's kind of, we're seeing it a little bit split in the middle.
And then in terms of making, and I think we're seeing it more now, Taylor, like the question during COVID, they did ask, is it 100% remote or hybrid? It almost was assumed that you won't be going into the office 5 days a week. So the question was, is it remote 100% or is it a hybrid environment? Now the question is, remote sort of still happens, but it's not that much. There's more, is it a hybrid or do I have to go back into the office? And I think I have to go back into the office. That question is being asked more because clients are pushing to get staff back into the offices for whatever reasons those are, and people are going, I don't want to go back into the office 5 days a week. So we're having that side of the conversation now, where some of our clients have a 5 day in the office mandate. just what it is, and certain roles do require it,
Yeah.
but not all roles. So
Yeah.
how do you balance that?
Yeah, like it works for some industries, but not the other. But
Correct.
I'm also finding too, like flexible work hours seem to be a really big thing at the moment. And especially for those people who do need to be in the office, they need to, especially if they've got kids, they've got to do school pickup, they've got to do all of that. Or like we spoke to a candidate a couple of months ago, and she lived just over an hour away from the office, and where she was working currently, she was able to leave at 4 o'clock, but then work on her laptop for that hour of the commute home. So by the time she was home at 5 o'clock, she was able to shut off work instead of getting home at 6 o'clock. So like that sort of flexibility is a big thing as well. And even yesterday, I had a discussion around flexible hours because of a school drop off and in the office mandate kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's just very like, yeah, there's things are getting more flexible these days, and it's not about you working 8 hours a day. It should be sort of what you produce during that time you're at work. Like you could be working, you could do a solid 4 hours, and that would be, you get just as much work done as somebody who's in the office for 8 hours.
Correct.
But because they're in that office for 8 hours, they've got the socialization, which I mean, everybody needs, but how many times do you go to the toilet and get stuck at somebody's desk? Or how many times do you go and grab a coffee or a water at the, like fill that up and then get stuck for 15 minutes talking to somebody? So it's all of that. There's a lot to consider in both ways.
And then with that, so I want to leave earlier because I've got kids. I need to pick my kids up. But somebody that doesn't have kids, like you still need to keep it fair and equitable for everybody, so it's not an easy solution. And I think ultimately at the top of it is building a culture where people feel supported, they feel like they can be the best in that environment, deliver, be productive, be efficient, and that has consequences. Or you need to choose your technology correct. Do you have the right technology in place at the moment so that people can work from home and you can allow that? So there's a whole not an easy question to answer, and I don't think there's just one answer. It's a variety of each environment will be different. And in terms of sometimes even each role area within an organization could be different. And if that's the case, you have to try to make it fair and still build a culture around it.
So what is it that you actually think, like, what are clients saying, or what are they asking? Are they asking, why can't they get people to come into the office? Are they asking, why do people only want to do hybrid? Like, what are they saying?
Well, it's not really a question. I've had one client ask me, what are my thoughts around the working from the home, working from the office, and changing that. I think the biggest challenge has come in where there was, before COVID, it was like, oh, it's, we can, but we can't, and it's too difficult. And there were all these reasons why we always knew we could work from home, but it wasn't the done thing. So it was the exception to the rule. And then all of a sudden COVID happened, and then overnight, magically everybody can work from home. So what's the argument now to get people to come back into the office? And I'm talking about full time. I think a lot of people are very happy to do that, a hybrid environment where they go in for 2 days or 3 days a week, but not the 5-day anymore. And so I think it almost feels like you're taking something away that was given, had to be given, for work to continue, but it's being taken away. And if there's not a compelling reason, we as humans can understand and accept something once we understand it. But if there's no compelling reason, if there's not a real why do I need to be back in the office 5 days a week? That's where the challenge lies. And I think that's the question that needs to be answered. And I had one client that has asked me that. And we have in our network, we have a person that specializes in culture, and that's the organization focuses on that. And the question that was asked to me when I connected my client with them was, why? Why do they want to get people back into the office? And I think that's the question that needs to, and if there's a compelling reason for that, then absolutely. You have to be in the office because we've got people walking in and out and we need a front desk person. Valid reason.
They understand the why behind the decision. They're more likely to, be okay with it.
Correct. And then we know when we're recruiting somebody for a specific position, we know the why, and we can sell the why as to this is the reason why you need to be in the office. And then that either works or it doesn't. It's the same question that we would have asked 4 years ago. Is this company is based in North Sydney? You can't be in South Sydney and then work in North Sydney. Location is either it's going to work or it's not. So it's becoming that's the conversations we're having at the moment. The more informed we are, the easier it is for us to get to the right person, because these are little things that rule out salary, location, working arrangements. All of that is a yes or no answer. So it's and I think that's why we were thinking about what would we like to talk about today? And again, we're not giving answers because we don't know the answer. But I think that's pretty topical at that C-suite level at the moment, when we are looking at still recruiting quality staff.
Yeah.
What did your dad say? His biggest pain point?
Just finding decent staff that want to work, that will show up to work, like reliable people. And that his business, you don't it's a trade-based business. So, and you don't need any specific certificates to do it either. So it's very like entry level. You can walk in and be taught that kind of thing. And it's just not all younger people, but that younger generation is now coming through. And just finding people that just want to get their hands dirty, and finding people that don't rot the system, like sick days left, right and center for nothing, and that sort of thing. Just struggling to find decent people who want to show up to work, people who want to actually work.
And that's a universal thing. Finding the right people for the right organization. And it definitely starts with understanding exactly what the role is, what the requirements are around the role, what the culture is, and what is your rules around working from home. That's probably the first question we get asked.
Yeah.
In the past, it used to be what's the salary. Now it's what's the working arrangements.
Exactly. Is there flexibility? Yeah.
Tells you where people's values are at the moment. It's that flexibility. It's not necessarily salary.
Yeah.
And I think if you were to ask someone, if you said, I've got 2 roles for you, this one's completely flexible first, but this one's $10,000 more, which one would they, but you have to go into the office, which one would they take, do you think?
Flexibility. I think people are, I don't know the word that I'm trying to think of, but they
sounds like
I had my train of thought and it's just gone. Anyway, I'll get back to it.
Money is still important. Like if there's a $10,000 difference, that's still important. So what we're finding at the moment is candidates are looking at, okay, well, what's my daily commute? What does that cost me? What is the time involved? How much do I spend every day for lunch if I go out for lunch and I go out for coffees? If you start multiplying that, that adds up to quite a bit. And then you take the time, because you don't just jump on the train and you go and then you're magically in the office. It takes an hour and a half in, or it takes a 30-minute in, 30-minute out. Then you still have to go to daycare, pick up the kids. So I think that at $10,000, that's quite significant. I don't know if that'll be a clear-cut answer depending on what the benefits are. But certainly at around 5,000, people are going, no,
it's not worth it.
Not worth it to go into the office 5 days a week. So do we buy people to come back to the office? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, because I've heard discussions where guys that are coming into the office, or people that are working remotely, will be paid less because they're not coming into the office. And I'm like, I don't know how that will work.
Yeah.
So you're basically buying your flexibility.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I'm like, well,
I don't know how I feel about that.
yeah, I don't know how I feel about that either.
Right.
Because ultimately you get paid for work that you do, for output. So, yeah. So again, these are all just things that are being thrown around to try and establish what this new reality looks like. Where are we? Where are we going to land? And I don't think there's a black and white, we're landing here and this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be very much each organization and each role within an organization will determine what works for that organization. And that is it. You need to be in the office 5 days a week, or this role you can work fully remotely, or this role you have to be in the office twice a week.
Yeah.
And we're doing Wednesdays and Thursdays because then the whole team is together, everybody's in the office, because the worst thing to do, and I've heard this as well, you come back into the office and then your team is remote, then you're sitting on your phone or on your laptop doing Zoom calls from the office. So people are going, well, why am I doing that? I could just as well have done that at home. So yeah, very interesting. We're following it as on a day-to-day basis, because we're hearing it from candidates, we're hearing it from clients, and we're just seeing how it's developing. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it. Yeah, and just having the honest conversations with candidates.
Yeah, finding out where they are, and yeah, also like clients too, having that open communication with the clients just to see where they stand on that and what's the future looking like for them, and
what's their why.
Exactly.
Why do people have to go back into the office? Motivation.
Sounds like a real struggle and a real, like, I don't want to say power balance, but a real like tug of war where people are trying to work out where do you draw the line, or where do you have the right to ask, or where do you have to explain yourself, I guess, as well. People are still trying to work out where it is, or where that, I don't want to say power, but I can't think of anything else to sort of
control.
Yeah, that control. Yeah, they're trying to work it out still.
And I think if the answer to the why is to control,
it's not going to.
I don't think anyone's going to come out and deliberately say that,
no.
But it will come out if they say because we said so.
Reasons, correct.
Yeah.
Like when you're speaking to your child, don't do that. Why? Because I say so.
Even as parents, we've evolved now, and we know that doesn't work.
Correct. They have to ask the questions. And I've had organizations that have gone back to mandating 2 or 3 days in the office, and even then they've lost staff because they were working 100% remote, so they're looking for something else. And certainly if it's going to go back to mandating 5 days in the office without any valid reasons, organizations are going to lose staff.
Definitely.
Do you
and
think,
we're already seeing it.
Yeah. And do you think that have you seen scenarios where people go, damn, like we lost someone because we didn't offer them work, but now we can't find anyone who even ticks 80% of those boxes?
Correct. Yep. Absolutely.
which then puts them in that position where they're having to say to someone, "Can you please come back?" potentially.
Mm.
And
Potentially.
Yeah.
That could happen, but that's a very interesting power position then, if you look at that.
Mm.
That conversation, but that could potentially happen. And I think if that's a rush decision to let somebody walk out the door that's a valued employee because of the working arrangements, that might be because of a misconception of where the market is. And a lot of people still think that the market's bounced back in terms of finding staff. It is still a candidate short market. It's not, there is not 7 people for a job that is perfect or near perfect.
Yeah.
It is still a candidate short market.
Even just to get 1 or 2 decent people for certain roles is, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Like if you get 3 people submitted for a role, you're like, I've hit the jackpot here. Like I've got it. But it's finding that one and then potentially then finding a second and then third is gold.
Yeah, correct. So that might be the misconception then. Yeah. Is understanding the market.
Yeah.
And that's where we come in, have the conversation. I'm looking for to do this and to work this in hours and to be paid this. What are you seeing in the market? How are these guys? We can do the market research. We can tell you what we're finding in our network. We can provide that information so that when you do make a decision around either getting a new position, finding a new role, somebody for a new role, or replacing somebody, at least you know where the market is. Recruitment consultants sit with gold of information. Ask. I always say to my candidates and clients, ask me. If I don't know, I'll tell you. But if I have experience, I'll give you that experience. So at least it paints the picture a bit more so you're informed when you're going to either present to the board or you present to your manager or you have to put an argument forward for a new position or to change a role. Then you have that information of what's happening in the Brisbane market, in the Melbourne market, in the Sydney market at the moment. So we're here to help. It's not just finding staff. There's so much more knowledge that we gain by just talking to people. So reach out anytime.
For a coffee.
Yes. We
love our coffee.
Absolutely.
We'll even buy it for you.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
I can use coffees now.
That's us. That's what we have today.
It just seems to be the same thing though. Like
constantly. It's just this. But I think it's a huge issue for organizations because when they're talking about, the hybrid work and what you need to think of, the impact, they talk about clear communication, performance management, technology investment, training and support, inclusive policies, regular check-in, hybrid models, flexibility around life events, inclusive culture, feedback loop. So it's you're doing the things you used to do, but differently. And I think more intentionally as well. Like when when my cousin was here and his wife, I said, I catch up with Taylor at 9 o'clock in the morning and we catch up in the afternoon. And they're like, every day. Like, yeah, that's my only time that we can connect with each other. And I said to them, most of the time we don't talk about the job. We talk about other stuff. But that's the water cooler conversation. That's me walking past her desk and going, you okay? How you going? How was your weekend?
Yeah.
But it's got to be intentional. Like there has to be a time in the diary. We're catching up. And even if that is 5 seconds.
Or like we might not have the afternoon meeting like every single day.
Yeah.
But if we don't, it's usually like we'll call each other. Like this morning we didn't have our we didn't have our face-to-face Zoom meeting, but we still spoke on the phone really like quickly. But so we're always
But it's an intentional thing. Like we could have said, we'll catch up.
Yeah. you're intentionally connecting. And I find that a lot of people have said, I know, my husband or Cam sort of said that when he goes to work, sometimes he just gets pulled everywhere. He doesn't actually get any work done anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's not intentional, because somebody sees you there to fix something or ask something and they just do it. Whereas when you're at home, you think, I'll do this, I'll make this quick call and I'll move on. And it's a very different way of working. But I think what you're talking about is like it's a mental shift or a cultural shift that people seem to be fighting against.
Yeah, because it's change.
For some reason. Because change.
People don't like change. People don't like change. It's work. Why can't it just keep working the way it was?
Yeah.
And it will never go back to where it was. It can't go back to where it was.
But that's human life as well. Change is life. Your whole life is coping with whatever life throws at you.
Correct. Yes, correct.
And that's what it is. And we never like it.
No, we never like the change. And if the change is for no reason, then that's even worse. Like, don't tell me I have to change if I don't know why I'm changing. That's why there's fantastic change managers. It's actually a job. Yeah. Because people are so resistant to change. If you understand how it works, you can accept it. But if you don't, if it doesn't make sense, people are intelligent. They know.
Yeah.
Like they know.
And what you're actually sort of discussing, I guess, is resistance to change from two opposite ends of the spectrum, and they are clashing, and it's like, which one is going to win?
Correct. And it's why does there have to be a win-lose situation?
Exactly.
Why can't there be a win-win for both sides? And I think that's where we are at the moment, is that trying to figure out what is that middle ground, which is different for everybody. The flip side to the conversation of in being intentional and connecting intentionally is that your diary gets so filled up with meetings that you're literally, I look at my husband's diary and he doesn't have lunch because people go, oh, I'm just going to book in a meeting here because your calendar is free. I'm just going to book in a meeting there. And he literally, I call it trapezing. He just trapezes from one meeting to the next meeting. So that's the flip side of not being in the office and not having I see you, I'm just going to have that quick conversation because that'll take 5 minutes. Now I've got to book a time into your diary and I can only see you in 2 weeks' time or 2 days' time because your diary is full. Yeah. So it's that balance. And sometimes the water cooler conversation or the quick coffee conversation, things get sorted out or you see different perspectives that doesn't necessarily happen. So it's very, very, very difficult.
Yeah. I think the hybrid is probably the way to go. Just like personal opinion, like I love working remote and we work 100% remote, but I think it will be nice to sort of sit down a day or two and collaborate with everybody and just because you'll be collaborating on a different level. Like right now we're like, it's so good having that video, but that face-to-face time that we get when we go and meet a client or catch up if we're sort of in the same area, it's very different. It's on a more personal level. So I think, but it doesn't work for some industries either. Yes. So, and again, like personal preference, some people don't like socializing in an office environment. They would prefer to sit at home and do everything through Teams. So I don't know. I think hybrid is good because it gets you out of that house as well. It changes your environment. It gets you a little bit more creative because you're not sitting in the same space all the time. Right. And like we go grab a coffee and work at a cafe or head down to the beach or head outside in the sun. So we do have that available, but yeah.
I think the hybrid needs to be intentional as well, because if you're working, like I said, if you're going into the office 2 days a week,
make
sure that the intent with that is to make sure that all the right people are around the table.
Exactly.
So that you get value out of that
Yeah.
day, because the worst thing is like working from
What he
your
said.
office but in Teams because your team's not there,
Yeah.
or the people that you need to collaborate with. That's not easy because you might need to collaborate with different people at different levels in different departments.
Yeah.
Not a black and white, here's the answer and the solution to it.
Mm,
But
Like,
that
even
it's changed,
individual-
that's true. And it won't go back to where it was.
No.
No. And I think collaboration is probably the key as to what it might look like individually and as a group in
Yeah.
your team. And that makes it difficult because I don't, like you say, it's not going to go back. And I don't think it can go back to a time where someone tells you this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it anymore. People won't sit and just be content with that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we say what we think, and why is there not space for us to share our ideas and things like that? So, it's change managers I think are very important right now.
Hugely. They've always been very important.
Yeah.
Change managers have always played a very crucial role in any change or any transformation that happens within an organization. But I think it's just come to the forefront now
Yeah.
more because it's so big. There's
Yeah.
so much change,
Yeah.
and there's so much, not resistance necessarily, but questions being asked, which I think is a good thing. If it's an environment where people are asking questions, it means they care.
Yep.
They want to be part of the solution. They want to be part of, what does this look like? I would like to make it work because I do care and because I am passionate. It's the guys that just disappear into the dark that you never hear about. Those are the ones that maybe it wasn't such a big loss. But the guys that are actively involved in questioning
And invested.
and invested and questioning, in not to make life difficult, but to really understand and to try and make things work. Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Also, just off topic, well, not really off topic, but just with that remote work flexibility, that sort of thing, in terms of like a candidate, like the candidate side of things, if you're a Brisbane-based office and you're looking for, I don't know, a recruiter or something like that, and where you're located, there's not a lot of good talent there. You could find someone really good in Perth, and if you're not open to that remote or flexibility, you've lost out on that really good candidate as well. So that also comes into play too, whether you are looking for a really solid candidate or whether you just have to look for the best in that area too.
Correct.
That also, is another option to weigh up too.
Yep.
I guess just having those open conversations and again, that why comes in, and maybe do a little bit of market research, find out who's in the area, maybe float some resumes across and be like, this is what we've got in this area that can come into the office or can do hybrid. But look at this candidate. They obviously can't come into the office, but they could be willing to fly out once a month or all of that. Like,
we do challenge.
Exactly. Yeah.
We do challenge, and we don't do that necessarily with all organizations, because some are just like, no.
Yeah.
But the ones that the ones that you have a relationship with, so basically our clients,
Open. Yeah.
yes, we do challenge. We will send them a resume of somebody that is very, 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 very good for the role, but does not tick that box specifically. We do that with salary.
Yeah.
If somebody is at a salary level that's just a little bit higher, but everything else works, we'll send that candidate to challenge the client, just to say, this is the pool we're looking at. This is what you're finding. If you just change your view and budget, you could be looking at that. And then the answer comes very quickly. Can't change the budget. This is what the budget is. Well, okay. Well, at least you know what that next Same with location. We that's our job. That's part of what we do. If we find a great candidate, we will submit them and we will challenge in the best way possible, because ultimately we want the best solution for the client.
Yeah.
And that's how you guys do business.
That's how we do business. Yes.
So thanks for joining us today on Montague Group's Conversations That Connect. Remember, if you would like to discuss your business needs or a future role, contact Suki and Taylor on LinkedIn. Catch you next time. Bye.